Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Seerah with the Kids. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Now, where did we stop last time? We were talking about the Arabs and you know how what?
And the idols
And the what? So we generally talked about Arabs and their qualities. They had really bad qualities, but they also had some really, really good qualities, right? And then we talked about that, what the Arabs used to make their living off. So primarily it was either they would, take care of the cattle like sheep, camels, cows, or they would do trade. So they would take whatever they would have and they would go to either Syria, Sham, all the areas above, Lebanon, and then otherwise they would go down to Yemen based on the weather and cold weathers. Now we're going to talk about today a little bit more specific about the family of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وفي بني هاشم in the tribe of Bani Hashim إحدى بطون قريش كان عبد المطلب سيد قريش يعيش بين أولاده العشرة. Abdul Muttalib, he was the leader. He was the leader, Sayyid Quraysh, he was the leader of Quraysh. He used to live with his 10 kids. وتذكر عبد المطلب يوما, he remembered one day, أن رأى في نومه من يأمره بحفر بئر زمزم. He remembered, I saw a dream and somebody told me to dig the well of Zamzam. بعد أن ردمت بالتراب. When another tribe or another, a family of people, they were leaving Makkah, so what they did is they took a lot of sand and dust in that time and they covered up the well of Zamzam. So nobody knew where the well of Zamzam was. It kind of like disappeared. People knew that there used to be well of Zamzam, but it was covered with dust. They didn't know where the source of it. So somebody came in the dream of Abdul Muttalib and told him to go and dig Zamzam. When he did that, he made not a dua, he made this thing called a nadhr in Arabic. Nadhr basically means you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, if this happens, then if you listen to my dua, and if this happens, then I will do this for you. And if Allah does listen to your dua, then you have to do this particular thing. It becomes fard on you. It exists. It's a promise, but it's a promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you ask Allah, oh Allah, I'm asking you fulfill this particular need. If you do that, then I promise you that I will do this. This is something which is allowed in Islam, but most of our scholars, it's something you shouldn't do. You should just ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does not need our promise in order for us to fulfill something for us. فلما حفرها وقفت قريش له لأنه كان وحيدا. When he started digging, what happened? Quraysh and everybody came around. And everybody knew that, he is trying to look for the source of Zamzam. He's trying to look for the source of Zamzam. And everybody wants a piece of this honor. They want to know that we were the ones, we participated in digging of the Zamzam. And he was telling everybody to stay away. Nobody should come. Okay, it's a long story. We're not going to get into that. But at that particular point, he made this nadhr. He made this oath, sort of an oath to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that oh Allah, if you give me a 10th child, then I will sacrifice one of these 10 childs, one of these 10 childs to find Zamzam. The names of these 10 children, أولاده العشرة, where were they? Can somebody tell me a few names?
Abu Jahl?
No. Abu Jahl was an uncle. Like a maternal, like an outside uncle, like a far relative of Prophet ﷺ. He was not a direct uncle. What are some of the names of the uncles of Prophet ﷺ? Very famous one. You guys know. Abbas radiallahu anh. And who was the one that was killed by... Yes.
Uncle.
Hamza. Remember? Hamza was killed. Hamza radiallahu anh, he was killed. Yes? Ali radiallahu anh is not the uncle. He's the cousin of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the names were Harith, Al-Harith, was Zubair, والحجل والضرار والمقوم أبو لهب والعباس وحمزة وأبو طالب وعبد الله. إنه الآن لا بد أن يوفي بنظره. At this point he has to do the wafa, he has to fulfill the promise that he has made with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What was the promise? To sacrifice one of his children. وعز عليه فراق ولد من أولاده. It was very difficult for him to lose any of his children. Nobody wants to lose their children, right? Remember the story of this recent girl that passed away that Mama told you, right? Nobody wants to lose children. They're very beautiful, but he had to do something because he had made a promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولكن لا بد للأهد من وفاء. This is the most important point. He could have easily said, who cares? I'm not going to fulfill the promise. Yeah, I was just joking. You know, sometimes people say that. But over here, we understand a very important thing, that when a Muslim, he was not even a Muslim at that time. When a Muslim, he promises something with anyone, we have to fulfill that promise. And this is one of the characteristics of a good Muslim. وللوعد من التحقق من التحقيق ولم يطل تفكير عبد المطلب. He did not stand there and say, let me think of a plan, you know, I'm going to do something. How am I going to do this? What's the most? No. As soon as he made the decision he's going to do this, right away he said, I'm going to do this, and he moved on. فقد جعل كل ولد من أولاده يكتب اسمه على قدح من الأقداح ليقترعوا. What he did is he took a bowl and he placed the names of each one of his children in a bowl. And you know, sometimes we do this, like, you know, you just mix the bowl and pick out a name of a person who's the winner, right? So we call this like a draw, right? Similarly, he did this, but a draw of all his 10 children. And whoever's name Abdul Muttalib picks out, he's going to be the responsible. He's going to be the one that Abdul Muttalib is going to slaughter. Interesting thing is, they would not do this anywhere except in front of which idol? Who? Hubal. They would not do this. This was a very big thing. This used to be a very big religious affair for those people. So the people of Quraysh, whenever they had some great things they had to do, they would go to Hubal and they would do these things in front of Hubal, as if like Hubal's saying, yeah, you know what, take care of it. So it's all right. I'm going to select the best one for you. Hubal couldn't do anything, but it was their belief and they would do that. So they went to Hubal and he picked out the name of who? Whose name did Abdul Muttalib picked out from the 10 children? Abdullah. Abdullah's name was picked out. Not you, Abdullah, but another Abdullah. Who was this Abdullah? Who was he? No. This Abdullah was the father of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the father of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
He fell and died.
Yes. How did you know that? وَكَانَ هُوَ الصَّنَمْ الَّذِي يَتَحَكَّمُونَ إِلَيْهِ. This was the sanam they would go for getting their matters sorted. وَخَرَجَتِ الْقُرْعَةِ عَلَى وَلَدِهِ الْأَصْغَرِ عَبْدُ اللَّهِ. The draw came for the name of Abdullah. وَكَانَ عَبْدُ اللَّهِ أَحَبُّ أَوْلَادِهِ إِلَيْهِ. Abdullah was the most beloved children of Abdul Muttalib. To Abdul Muttalib, he was the most beloved. فَمَاذَا يَفْعَلْ? What do he do? What does he do? هَلْ يُطِيعَ الْأَمْرَ أَمْ لَا? Finally, he said, you know what? I'm going to do the amr. I'm going to obey and I'm going to do it. As he was about to go and slaughter Abdullah, the people of Quraysh came and he said, no, do not do this. If you do this, you are the leader of this tribe. And if you do this, people will take this as a way of settling disputes, as a way of settling choices, and it will become a sunnah, and then people will start slaughtering their children. Do not start this. So then he's like, what do I do? I've promised Allah, I'm going to do this. So one of the persons, فَأَشَارُوا عَلَى عَبْدُ الْمُطَّلِبِ بِالذَّهَابِ إِلَى الْعَرَّافَةِ. There was this girl by the name of Arrafa. Arrafa she was like, basically means somebody who knows, she claims, I know everything. Come and ask me, I know everything. If we go to Canada and America, you'll find, people who have these things in front of their house. There's, they call themselves sorcerers and fortune tellers. I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to read your hand and I'm going to give you all the things that are going to happen in your life. All of this is haram. Muslims are not supposed to fall into this. Even, these stars that, nowadays children ask each other, they're like, what star are you? I am Virgo, I am Leprechaun, I am this, I am that. All of these stars have no significance in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created each one of you, when He created each one of us, He wrote down. What did He write down? Everything that is going to happen. So no star, no fortune teller is going to be able to tell you something, or they don't know this future. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows this future. ولكن هذه المرة, so this Arafah, she told Abdul Muttalib, this is what you do. You put Abdullah, you put your son Abdullah at one end, and you put 10 camels on the other end, and you make a draw. Okay, you make a draw. The way they used to do draw in those days, this type of a draw, bil azlam, basically, they used to have these arrows, and they would throw the arrow, whichever way the arrow would point, whichever direction, they would say, this is the person, or this is the person. So they threw the arrow and it came on Abdullah. Then they threw the arrow again, it came on Abdullah. Then they threw the arrow again, it came. So 10 times the arrow kept coming on Abdullah, and every time the arrow would come to Abdullah, Abdul Muttalib would add how many more camels?
10.
10 more camels. When there were 100 camels on one side and Abdullah on the other side, then the draw came out to the camels. And then Abdul Muttalib, he slaughtered all those 100 camels instead, and this way Abdullah was saved from being slaughtered. Now, this was a very happy moment because Abdullah came home and he was happy. وأعادت هذه القصة إلى أذهان ذكر الجد. ذكر الجد الأكبر للعرب للإسماعيل. This story reminded people of another story. Which was the story? Ismail and Ibrahim alayhi salam. So people started talking, oh my God, look, it's a similar story as Ibrahim alayhi salam and stuff like that. Everybody in the Arabian Peninsula started talking about this story. It became a very, very famous story. واصطحبت عبد المطلب ولده عبد الله قريبا من يثرب. He took his son Abdullah one day close to this place called Yathrib. Why did he take him there? ليزوجه. Now Abdullah had become a big boy and it was time for him to get married. So Abdul Muttalib, the father of Abdullah, he took his son to Yathrib. Yathrib today is called what? Medina, Al-Madina Al-Munawwara. He went to Medina and Abdul Muttalib, he found out some very, very good looking girl for Abdullah to get married to. And what happened next? How did they get married? Where did the story end? That is what we're going to cover inshallah in our next episode. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.